Hi guys, today I'm going to be doing a review for The Vine Witch by Luanne Smith. This was an unexpected treasure actually. I was actually gifted this to me by a friend at work. She's recently been doing that Twitter feed where people have just been gifting each other books, and she got 2 copies of this, and she said she was talking to me about this book but couldn't remember the title of the name like weeks before, and she said this is the book, and also I have something for you, this is for you, and it was that book. And I was really like, it was a really kind gesture, so she gave me her spare copy, which is really sweet. And so what this is about is there are these, I feel like the back will probably give you the better synopsis, so let's go. For centuries, the vineyards at Chateau Renard have depended on the talent of their vine witches, whose spells help create the world-renowned wine of the Chansu Valley. Then the skill of divining harvests fell into ruin when sorcery Eleanor Boranu was blindsided by a curse. Now, after breaking the spell that confined her to the shallows of the marshland and weakened her magic, Eleanor is struggling to return to her former life, and the vineyard she was destined to inherit is now in the possession of a handsome stranger. Vigneron Jean-Paul Martel naively favours science over superstition, and he certainly doesn't endorse the locals' belief in witches, but Eleanor knows a hex when she sees one, and the vineyard is covered in them. To stay on and help the vines recover, she'll have to hide her true identity, along with her plans for revenge against whoever stole 7 winters of her life. And she won't rest until she can defy the evil powers that are still a threat to herself, Jean-Paul, and the ancient vine witch legacy in the rolling hills of the Chansu Valley. So this really reminds me of that sort of Vampire Diaries, the originals, New Orleans sort of witchy vibe, but it's like a blend that I'd personally never heard of before. So we've got these witches, but their particular talents are in the craft of making wine, which just added this whole kind of sophisticated layer to it, which was so cool. Like, I really enjoyed kind of learning the intricacies, whatever the word is, of crafting a wine and the spells that goes into it, as well as, you know, the general harvesting of the land, the grapes, that sort of stuff. So that was really cool, quite a unique concept for me that I personally hadn't read about. I did give this a 4 out of 5 stars, and I really did enjoy it. I do believe it is part of a series. I don't know how many books are within the series, if it's a trilogy or more, whatever, but I will definitely be interested in picking up the other books in this. Straight off the bat, it seems like we're following a strong female-led character cast. Really, it's quite a small cast, and you do get 2 perspectives, but one of the main ones is from Eleanor. And straight away you get the perspective of her under this curse. She breaks free from it quite soon into the story, and the kind of main theme of the story thereafter is revenge for who she thinks did this to her, especially when it becomes apparent of how long she's been gone for. So each, as I mentioned, each kind of witch in this area caters a particular blend of wine for the house that they work for, or chateau, or whatever you want to call it. And it's made an impact on their wine selling, their wine quality, because she hadn't been there to kind of care for it and create the blends and such. And her mentor has slipped kind of in terms of witchcraft. As with age, with anything, she's kind of gotten a bit weaker in herself, and she's not been able to kind of hold the ground very well, unfortunately. So it's kind of Eleanor rebuilding that, trying to convince the new owner that she needs, that witches exist, that's a thing. He kind of needs to put his superstitions out of it and accept the fact that they need this in order to become the top of the game, like they were 7 years ago before Eleanor was cursed. So I actually really like the plot of this. Again, down to its nitty gritty, it is basically a revenge story, and of course there is a love story amongst this as well. I will find though that the love part for me, it kind of didn't really make sense. I found like it didn't really feel like it was blossoming. It was just every now and then there'd be like a sentence or so kind of fixating on how attractive the other person was, and then all of a sudden it became apparent that they felt these strong feelings for each other, but it didn't feel, it was almost like you were being told. I didn't actually see it happening, and that's an issue, particularly for me. I'm not too keen on romances personally. I don't go into a book for the romance, but if it is in there, and I've obviously gone into the story for the fantasy element, I want it to be good, if you know what I mean. And I just felt, although it was an enjoyable read overall, as you can see reflected in my star rating, I just felt like the romance was a little bit lackluster and didn't really make sense. I didn't understand how it all came together. Yeah, so that left me a little bit like, how did we even get here? However, I know a lot of people tend to enjoy this trope, but it is a enemies to lover kind of romance, if that interests you at all. So there are a few different characters in here. As I said, the main character really is Eleanor. I feel like you get a lot more perspectives from her in terms of chapters, but we also have Jean-Paul, who is the, as we've read in the synopsis, the person that's bought over the house, the wine business, and he's very headfast in his belief in science. He's come out of the city into the sort of countryside where it's very superstitious, and obviously for good reason, because there are witches around, and they're not the witches that he would have imagined as a child. So I think because of that, he is even more resilient, because it's like, nah, this is ridiculous, it's purely science that creates good wine. But he's having failure after failure of harvest, and eventually he buckles and kind of listens to what they have to say, which is really interesting. So it was nice to kind of see him finally be like, ah, crap, even though it was like pushed in his face, it was like, oh, okay, you're right, let's do it the right way. But yeah, as I was saying, we do have some other characters spotted in. One particular character I would have loved to have known more from, and perhaps, maybe, I don't know, maybe she might appear again in another book, but it's Sidra, or Cedra. I feel like she was such a cool character. She had some interesting qualities about her, but we didn't really get an awful lot about their time together, which, to be fair, wasn't a long amount of time at all. But I would have liked to have known more about her kind of magic, and some of the, you know, little bits about how it works, and how she can do certain things that Eleanor can't do as a vine witch. So when the plot evidently took on a kind of murder mystery sort of vibe, although I had my suspicions, I really did enjoy sort of piecing together sort of theories and ideas of who the true culprit was, and kind of getting there just as our main character was getting there. It was just like a hard impact moment where it's like, oh wow, okay, just at the brink as Eleanor was discovering who was responsible for everything. So that was pretty cool. I like kind of being in the dark just enough, but also not feeling stupid, if you know what I mean, when it comes to plots and sort of like detailed work like that, which is really cool. I think it was done quite well here. So overall, I thoroughly enjoyed my time reading this, much more than I was expecting, because I don't really have any, like, it wasn't really on my radar other than what my friend had told me about previously, but again, at the time I didn't know what the title was and all that, I was just pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed it. On my Goodreads review, I do have a spoiler section, so if you are interested to check out that and other little bits that I might not have mentioned here, feel free. My Goodreads profile is always linked in the description. But yes, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read The Vine Witch. I'm not sure if any other books are out currently. I feel like maybe one. When I was looking on Goodreads, I think I saw at least a sequel, but I couldn't remember what that's called. Let me know if you've carried on, if you will carry on, if you're interested in picking this up. I would love to know. So thank you so much for watching once again. I'll speak to you in another video soon. Bye.
You got me trapped inside this spell.